I'm Perry Patel. I'm AVP of Technology Solution at Hub. I've been at Hub for about 5 years. I lead their software engineering, DevOps, and automation team. The software engineering team primarily focus on custom build application, building the custom build application using open source technology. DevOps team primarily focus on CI/CD and all the infrastructure as a code practices, and the automation team is what primarily focus on RPA, AI, and machine learning. Hub Group is the, as Ron mentioned, is a multimodal transportation solution provider. We are close to 5 billion in revenue. Our fleet size is close to 50,000 container, and we have about 4,000 drivers. And the primary mode of operation is intermodal. On top of intermodal, we also have a brokerage, logistic, and a dedicated business unit. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share our automation journey. I've broken down our automation journey into kind of four different sections. So first, I'll cover the, how the automation technology has been evolving. I think Tony and previous speaker has covered that really nicely. So I might kind of skip some of the detail there. And then second, I'll talk about it, our current state, where are we today, how many automation we have, and what kind of saving we have seen. And then I'll talk about it, what's the goal we set for this year, and then some of the success story and some of the use cases that we have deployed automation technology I'll share with you guys. So, the automation technology has been evolving pretty rapidly, right? So if we think back in 2016, the primary focus was about task automation, desktop-based automation with the manual trigger, and a lot of macros-based processes that's been around for years, right? So it was very kind of a narrow focus automation. And then as we see, towards early part of 2017, as emergence of RPA really changed the way enterprise think about automation, right? And as Tony talked about it, when we think RPA, typical use cases we typically go after is, filling out the form, doing the data entries, or reading from the one system, writing to the other system, moving a file and folder. In short, handling the use cases which are more geared towards structured data, right? And towards the end of 2018, 2019, the intelligent automation was introduced to describe how we can use AI, machine learning technology in combination of RPA to go after the use case which are very high value, and then also addressing the problem where which RPA cannot do with the semi-structured or unstructured data, right? Reading an email, reading an invoice, and or at least understanding the document. So at least intelligent automation is kind of helping us to solve for those problems. And then towards kind of 2020, end of 2020, the concept of hyper automation was introduced. And hyper automation is there are three main core principles to the hyper automation. It's all about business driven, iterative, and how we can have a very disciplined approach to the automation, so we can significantly increase the rate and pace how we can increase the automation footprint to the organization, as well as have like a robust COE process that help to mature the automation program at the different organization. So like I say, I won't talk about RPA. I think other speaker has covered that really nicely, and we have talked about what the value we get out of that. So I'll kind of skip through some of these details. The use cases typically we go after is data capture, data extract, manipulation, and whatnot. But I think this is a topic that we talk quite a bit, and I think Ron was also asking the same question. When we think about AI, machine learning, RPA, I mean, the way we describe intelligent automation is, combination of all three, right? Where we are using AI for some of the predictive things, as Tony talked about it, and then we are also using like a different machine learning model, to make sure that when RPA is doing some of the work, we can have the predictive things built into the automation to make sure that the process is efficient and be able to do that end-to-end automation that enterprise is looking for. So, in the current state, so far we have deployed close to 47 bots to production. We do have a pretty robust um, um, uh, environment. We have a non-prod and production environment, and then we have team has done a pretty great job of making sure that we have a robust CI/CD process where developer can just check in the code, and we are able to automatically get that bot deployed to the production as well as the non-production environment. And then primary domain where we have deployed these bots are account management, operation, equipment, asset management, as well as the finance. Finance is where we have deployed a decent amount of bot, given there are a lot of inefficiency tied to some of the financing process that we have. From the sizing standpoint, we have sized more than 100 use cases. We have conducted many workshops. We are using Automation Hub in order to capture those use cases. And we have kind of worked with a lot of business sponsor and business stakeholder to understand the value, understand the benefit of those use cases, and then at least understand, is this use case is something that we can automate, and what technology that we can use to make sure that we have the right technology to solve the problem that business is looking for. In terms of the benefit, we are right now saving close to 7,000 hours per year. I do expect that's going to grow significantly as we deploy more and more automation use cases. And then another thing that we also have done is, before we had a multiple different automation platform, but given we have seen that how UiPath is definitely taking a lead, and I think that's the reason where we have kind of moved away from most of all the other platform to UiPath. And then, as I mentioned, that we do have a pretty robust automation DevOps practices to make sure that we are able to be the developers are disciplined and they're able to focus on the building a bot without having to worry about how to deploy and how to get it promoted to the different environment. From the lesson learned standpoint, the first thing, one of the earlier lesson learned is process selection is key, and RPA is not the right, RPA isn't the right answer for every processes. So understanding the complexity of the process that you want to automate way early in the process is really key, because a lot of time, if you don't have that complexity well understood, then you might be solving a process inefficient way, or you might not have the right technology that you're using to solve the process. A lot of time integration may be the better way to solve the process instead of having a disconnected process that you automating individually. The second lesson learned we had was robust exception handling. So over test the robot to ensure that it's able to handle all the different permutation combination. And I think one of the way we were able to overcome that by using the RE framework. It's easy to get the process up and running, but you have to make sure that the process is implemented in a way where when there are exceptions, when there are things that bot didn't expected, how are you handling it? How are you making sure that there is a proper visibility provided to the team that are supporting this bot? It becomes really key, because once you have a business move on to something else, then you're not going to have people there doing the work previously to kind of account for those exceptions. And third, which was really, and third is also very important learning that we had was, RPA anxiety and job loss fears are real. When we started with the automation program, we had in the beginning, we did not do a good job of explaining everybody that what's the intention behind the automation program, how are we going to make sure that we are helping them to be more efficient, more productive. And because of not having that good change management and communication and education to the different end user, they basically were holding back, suggesting what process can be automated. So having that well explained to them and help them understand that the idea behind automation is to kind of allow them to focus on value added activity, it goes a long way. And fourth one is having a COE. So, definitely in order to sustain the automation, initiative, you have to make sure that you have a well-defined um, uh, structure to your automation program, and then make sure that you have a good operating model, governance. How are you deploying those resources? How are you supporting what is working in production? How are you discovering those processes? So having a repeatable process that allow you to kind of mature your automation program is really key. And then the last one is it's a continuous improvement, right? So it's not about automating one process, but how do you create that repeatable and reliable program that is allowing you to continuously reflect back, learn from it, and adjust it, and keep going, right? And then and basically learning and how you can change your upcoming process and applying the learning is really key. So from that, our plan for 2021 was to build and deploy 20 automation with a ROI of less than a year. The team has done a fantastic job of getting it. I think we are pretty close to being there. We have deployed almost 18 of 20 automation, and team feels pretty confident that we'll be able to deploy that. And again, it's the same area where we have deployed other automation. And then another thing that we have also learned is, as I mentioned, that these are the different 5 stages of the automation program. Second stage and third stage where we have done a pretty good job. The stage that we were kind of struggling beginning of this year is to the discovery process, and also how we can measure once we have deployed those automation use cases to production. So I think Automation Hub was definitely in the task. My task capture was also very useful in order for us to mature our discovery and process analysis step. And then we are using Insight, and we have quite a bit of metrics that we have put together in order for us to make sure that we have a good way to measure what has been deployed. And we still have to, again, from the maturity standpoint, we have quite a way to go. But at least every quarter we have that retrospective, and we kind of figure out what are the areas that we can improve in order to make sure that we kind of constantly improving in the areas that we still need improvement. From the success story, I think like I said, we have quite a bit of bot deploy, but two story that I would like to share with you guys. This is in the account management space where we do a lot of appointment setting. So in logistic world, where we have to kind of log into the different customer portal and then request an appointment, and that is a very repetitive and very kind of a rule-based task. So that is where we have deployed the bot, and so far what we have done is we've been able to do both, not only just use an RPA, but we also use machine learning model to predict when that container is going to be grounded. So ETG is the estimated time to ground when the container is grounded, and then we can, based on that prediction, we can have a bot schedule an appointment. From the ROI standpoint, we have seen a great improvement in terms of the efficiency from the team, as well as accuracy, because of we are able to use the model that predict the ETG. We're able to also increase the accuracy of the appointment as well. So we don't have to do rescheduling of those appointments. And the second success story we had around the document processing. Again, Tony talked about it, where in the transportation world, we process close to 2 to 3 million documents a year, and those documents are all our bill of lading, proof of delivery, equipment interchange. And when we process them, the idea behind processing is we have to basically classify when we get those documents to make sure that we are labeling them correctly. At the same time, we have to index them. What that means is we have to attach that document to the specific transaction. And from the solution standpoint, we did use computer vision, custom vision, and AI technology in order to do the both classification as well as the indexing. And those three documents makes up 78% of all the document. So out of 2.5 million to 3 million documents, 78% of the document are processed through the model. And from the results standpoint, we've been able to see 60% of those documents are fully automated, where we don't need to have human look at those documents at all. And the accuracy for the classification is about 98%, and then indexing is pretty close to 87% from the document indexing standpoint. Not It has helped us make our team more productive and efficient. At the same time, it has also helped us reduce the cycle time, and the cycle time means pretty big for logistic industry. By reducing by a day, it helps us to kind of have a $7 million ROI on that. And then it was also help us to reduce the headcount, because we had quite a big team working on this the document initiative, and we were able to achieve that. um, um, at least we were able to reprioritize or reassign them to the different work. So this is my last slide. Again, I think this kind of summarized all the things that I was talking about, right? From the digital transformation point, deploying machine learning, AI, and RPA technology is really key. And what this slide is outlining is, what are the different use cases? Like, for example, machine learning, we're able to deploy for the prediction, optimization, and the forecasting. From the AI standpoint, we are able to do computer vision, custom vision, NLP, some of the IoT data that we're able to use in order to provide a better tracking and the visibility and the asset utilization. And from RPA standpoint, we're able to do a lot of unattended, attended, and approval bot as well. So and the use cases that I have listed out under each of those kind of a key technology, where for prediction, we are able to deploy for the driver retention, and then also preventive maintenance that we're doing. From the forecasting standpoint, we're able to do short-term and long-term forecast. I talk about the document on the vision side. From the NLP standpoint, we have done both driver bot as well as the customer bot that help us to make sure that we're able to respond back to the driver when they have some common questions. And then unattended bot, we talk about appointment settings and a lot of other the finance use cases that we have solved using those unattended bot. We do have some of the use cases that we actively exploring where we're gonna use attended bot. We don't have anyone running right now, but that's something that we're exploring as part of our 2022 roadmap.